Yep. Hey, what is going on, everybody? We are back for the stories of diversity. And man, oh man, do we have a lineup for you. We've got a powerhouse of lineups. But I want to challenge everybody here because this is a very special stories of diversity. Because we're going to be taking a little bit of a break after this one. Michael has had some challenges that have come in his life, and he needs to focus on his personal life right now. But in Michael Hummel's style, he has decided that he still wanted to move forward with this month's Stories of Diversity. But after this, we're going to take about a 3 to 4 month break. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to come back like an avalanche down the side of the mountain. My name is David Vrablik, and I'm the founder and president of New Beginnings Motivation. And I know y'all have seen me all over Facebook and all over YouTube over the last year and a half. I've hosted 8 Mountain Summit virtuals that have impacted thousands of lives. And I was grateful, honored, and humbled when Michael Hummel asked me to become his partner and his co-host in the Stories of Diversity. I'm here to support the mission in the movement of Michael Hummel because he has built a platform, a movement for those who need to be heard. Because sometimes not everybody has their ears open or their hearts opened. And not only does Michael build this movement for everybody, but he backed my movement at the beginning of 2026 by becoming our main sponsor. That's the caliber of the man that Michael Hummel is. Integrity is who you are when no one is looking. And Michael is exactly what you get when you see him on our lives. So I want to encourage all of you, take a couple hours out of your Saturday, bring your family to watch this on Facebook. To everyone out there that has been a part of the Mountain Summit Virtual and who are coming to the Mountain Summit Live in September, Tanya Brown, Tim Gillette, Michael Faber, the Unleash Your Now family. Tune in. I know the Unleash Your Now family will. I know Michael Faber will, because each and every one in that community adores and loves Michael Hummel. But everybody else that's connected to me on Facebook, watch this man and watch this heart and watch all of the souls that have the courage to stand up. That's what the Stories of Diversity is all about. So I'm going to hand over the stage to my brother from another mother that blows the water with Matthew McConaughey's smile because he has the epic smile of all smiles. With that being said, my brother, the stage is yours.
Thank you, sir. I am currently in the courtyard of where I'm staying. And yes, David was right. We're probably going to take a 3 to 4 month break so I can take care of myself. But I wanted to make this one important because we had already scheduled it, and it was important for me to get this done. So with that being said, we're gonna start it off. Will Dickey is a 48-year-old living with spina bifida. His father was a vet exposed to Agent Orange, which I was too. In 2012, he helped found the Spina Bifida Association for the Carolinas. He's also been on the sh- tail of the Hill Planning Committee since the since its inception. He's had the privilege of co-hosting the event for multiple years. Also, one of the moderators of the United by Spina Bifida Facebook group, which is the largest SP group related with over 5,000 members from all over the world. Well, Will Dickey, the stage is yours.
All right. I didn't know if I had to unmute myself. I'm sorry. Here we go. All right. Well, first
Please.
and foremost, thank you, Michael. I truly appreciate the time and giving me the platform to ramble on and on about things I'm very passionate about.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
basically, my story, 48-year-old living with spina bifida. It seems like with you, my father was a Vietnam vet. So he was stationed in South Vietnam, so he was exposed to Agent Orange, which is why I was born with spina bifida. And we're part of a very unique percentage of people living with spina bifida uh, uh, that have been their parents have been exposed to the chemical Agent Orange because for the history majors out there, Agent Orange was an insecticide used to combat jungle warfare in Vietnam. It got into the water supply, and hence the reason Michael and I have this condition. Um, been living in Greensboro pretty much all my life. Back in 2012, helped start the Spina Bifida Association of the Carolinas. It started as a passion project. I know Julie Yindra, been good friends with her. She kind of put the seed in my head, and it started by just starting a Facebook support group page and just generically kind of recruiting. And next thing I know, I have several hundred people from North and South Carolina joining. And that's when people like Sarah Story at the Spina Bifida Association really took notice of what we were doing here in the Carolinas. And here we are, nearly 15 years and still going strong. And because of that, I've been able to have various relationships with various people within Spina Bifida Association itself, and I've been had been able to do a lot of fun things, awesome responsibilities, like being a part of the Teal and the Hill Planning Committee, and being able to actually co-host the event for several years. That's always very fun and something I've really enjoyed. So yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell. Michael, do you have anything specifically you want to know about me? Any specific questions to kind of get me rambling here? Or
I am curious as to um, how you deal with your disability. Like, because there's been times when I'm happy and content, and there's been times when I'm angry and pissed off and mad at the world. And I just want to get your opinion.
yeah, I'm human, and like everyone else, I have my ups and downs. I've seen a therapist for a while, having to deal with, just my situation because I really didn't deal with it until I was a young adult into college and really didn't go down that historic rabbit hole as to why everything happened. And don't get me wrong, my parents were always very open with my condition. I could always ask questions, but I've just kind of dealt with it because at the end of the day, it's better than the alternative. What other choice you got? You can keep going or you could quit, and that's just not in my nature. I'm way too stubborn. But you know I, I'm just like everybody else. I have my days, and but I have a good support system. And like I said, I've had a therapist, and I truly believe in therapy and in the positives of addressing mental health.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't deal with my disability probably until I was in my mid to late 30s,
Hmm.
and the mental health part of it definitely took hold as far as just bad days, good days, worst days.
Hmm.
Um, so you know, you like you said, you just take one day at a time.
Hmm.
You know. Dave, do you
And
have,
with go ahead.
no, no, I was gonna ask. Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
Well, and one thing I've noticed with my situation when others learn about it, they're like, why aren't you more bitter at the government? Why do you believe so much into advocacy and everything? Um, but my thing has always been I've learned, I had a lot of anger growing up about
Yeah.
it. But I've just learned the older I got, the more I learned it's better to learn about the system that you're a part of and how to use it to your advantage. And also to be also very educated
Yeah.
on what is going on in the world around you
Yeah.
and how things are done. And I joke that, yeah, I could be like the Unabomber living in the North Carolina mountains, sending hazardous materials to various lawmakers, but at the end of the day, what's that going to get me?
Mhm.
If I'm really lucky, that's going to be a Netflix special that no one in my family is going to want to participate in or be associated with.
Yeah.
I would much rather use my time and energy to, like I said, learn about the system, learn what's going on, and learn to prevent certain things and to lead change. Um, with me specifically being, as I mentioned, part of a specific group of people, but most importantly, I'm part of the first generation living with this condition, like you and Shamika, and that is projected to live well on into adulthood. I just celebrated my 48th birthday. I wasn't supposed to live past the age of 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So to me, I I treat that as a tremendous responsibility. It's a gift that I've been able to live this long, and despite my big bowl of awesome, I have a better quality of life than I have known other fellow constituents that are no longer here. So I have that going for me, and I've just decided I'm going to do everything in my power to lead to change.
Yeah.
So because as you know, parents are still getting the same horror stories you and I got our parents got when we were born. It's still just this false, scary narrative that it's a death sentence, and that's simply not the case.
Yeah.
We've proven, if anything, the last 10 years by the advocacy I've been honored to be a part of, that, this is no longer just a pediatric condition. I'm no longer the exception to the rule. I'm now the norm.
Mm.
So, like I said, that to me holds a great responsibility to kind of, really do some change, really make some change in the
Yeah.
world.
All of it. Dave, do you have any questions?
Not for you specifically,
No.
but once again, I thank you for the opportunity and being honored to be a part of this. So yeah, I thank you so much.
Thank you. Dave, do you have any questions?
I'm not very familiar with spina bifida because I was a fortunate one that never had that, but I've had several health struggles in my life. The biggest piece, what I do, is from the inspiration side of things because that's what my business is founded on. So is Michael's. Um, a lot of the topics that come on stories of diversity is always talked about the government side of things, and I like keeping the government out of it because that's just a topic that a lot of folks. It's a sore topic where people don't agree on everything. My question for you, Will, would be, when the family is getting the diagnosis from the doctors and they're just hearing it for the very first time, and you said you have a support group and you're helping the families through that, being an adult and being one of the few like you and Michael, what would you tell them to keep moving forward and to carry the fire and be there for the child?
Spina bifida is not a death sentence, regardless of what that your radiologist or that pediatrician tells you. It's not. Because the fact of the matter is, what we're learning is, a lot of these doctors, when they come on and they learn about neural tube defects, which technically spina bifida is, it's usually just a page or a paragraph. They don't really go into great detail. So all they have is all these generalizations. And so my big thing is to say, hey, look, it's not that everything's going to be fine. It's not going to be the way you thought originally, but take a look at me, take a look around. I'm not the only adult here. So there's no reason why your child can't do the same and achieve even more than I've been able to achieve.
I appreciate that. That's the biggest piece that everybody needs to hear. It's not a death sentence. It's a choice that the parents can make, and it's a choice when the child gets to adulthood, like you have done, Will, and everybody here, and that Michael has done. You can stay in the darkness with it, and accept what it is, and be grumpy and be unhappy about it and blame different areas about it, or you can change the mindset and you can change the heart around it, like everyone here has done. So, Will, I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Back
Thank
to you,
you.
this leader.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate it. Our next speaker is, hold on a second, Shamika Andrews is the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Self Advocacy Association of New York State. She also is the founder of Disability Empowerment Consulting, where she provides disability workshops on self care, self advocacy, and disability awareness. In 2006, she won the title of Miss Wheelchair New York, and she has been the coordinator of the program since 2013. In 2017, she wrote a book, her first book. It was a children's book called Butterfly on Wheels. She serves on the New York State Development Disabilities Planning Council. She did the Developmental Disability Advisory Council for OPWDD and the New York State Human Rights Disability Committee. Shamika, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Michael, for this opportunity. Glad to be here. I am Shamika Andrews. I am from Albany, New York. For those people that are not familiar with that, most people know where New York City is. I'm 3 hours from there. Like Will was saying, when I was born, the doctor said that I wouldn't live past the age of 5. And I'm glad to say I January 1st this year, my birthday is New Year's Day. So I always say everybody celebrates my birthday because it's everybody's celebrating on my birthday. And I turned 48. So they always say, never ask a woman her age, but I'll tell you my age over and over and over again. Because, like you said, doctor said I wouldn't um, live past the age of 5. And if I did, that I wouldn't be able to talk or walk. I am a power chair user, but everybody that knows me knows I love to talk. So they probably wish I'd shut up sometimes. But anyways, that's how my life began. I am the oldest of 4 children. I'm the only one that was born with spina bifida. So I have 2 sisters and a brother. And growing up, because of where I lived here in Albany, New York, I didn't go to school in my neighborhood. So I had to go to school about an hour, take a bus about an hour away from where I lived to get the therapies that I needed. And the schools at the time didn't have physical therapy and OT and speech and all of those things that I needed. So I had to um, go to school an hour away. Um, while my siblings, they all went to school here in our neighborhood. So most of my friends were, in different neighborhoods that they were not familiar with. Um, as I got older, I really enjoyed going to school because that was like my outlet to get away from thinking about disability and things like that. Um, you know, During my teenage years, I did have a lot of issues with like, depressive thoughts and things like that because, my neighborhood was not accessible. So I didn't have a lot of time where I was outside of my house, besides school. That's why I loved school, especially when I got to high school. I got into books and reading books, and books were kind of my escape at the time, right? So I couldn't control a lot of what was going on physically with me, but through the stories and hearing about other people's stories, I was able to focus on that and not so much of what I couldn't do. Um, and I learned a lot about, mindset and, Will mentioned, counseling and things like that. I've been seeing a therapist off and on since then. That has really been helpful to me. Um, in those times where I have those thoughts. And, like I said, books have really been very special for me. I always, and one of the things I like to do is keep quotes around my house and on my devices to really remind me and keep me in that positive mode. One of the quotes that I really like is it's a quote that says, I can't do everything, but I can do something. And I won't let what I can't do get in the way of what I can. So that is a quote that I really keep in my mind and keep me focused because we can all do something, whether it's give somebody a smile or a handshake or, whatever. Another outlet for me really is music. I love to dance. Dance was one of those things, because as a person with a disability, you hear throughout your life all the things that your body will never be able to do. And for me, dance allows me to explore what my body is capable of without focusing on, this doctor said this or that doctor said that. And with dance and with music, I can be free and I can move my body in whatever way works for me without worrying about what other people think about it. So music has definitely been a big part of my life, especially through, the last 5 previous years where we dealt with COVID. I connected with a lot of people online through dance and dancing with people all over the world through, this Zoom platform. And so that has really been a great outlet for me. Um, Also, as I got older, when I was about 22, I got the opportunity to move out of my family house and into my own apartment, which is where I live now. And I've lived there ever since. Um, so giving me that opportunity to be on my own and to travel more. I love traveling on a train. I do a lot of train travel because the train tends to be very accessible, at least of the places that I've visited. Um, I am a uh, Back during that time, shortly after I moved out, I found out about a program called Miss Wheelchair New York. Um, and I was volunteering for uh, the convention bureau. So anytime a big event came to town, we would always go to the hotels and tell the guests, what are what the good restaurants to go to, things like that. So that's where I learned about Miss Wheelchair New York. And at the time, I was taking public speaking, I was taking oral presentation at school, and I absolutely hated it. And, I met the coordinator of the program at that time, and she's like, you should really come and join our program. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I hate public speaking. I will never be a public speaker. I'm never going to do that. Well, needless to say, as they say, somebody else had a different plan because that's exactly what I do. Um, so I joined the program and I won the competition in 2006. And when my year was over, one of the last things that I did was I did a presentation at a transportation committee meeting, and that's where met the coordinator of the Self Advocacy Association at the time, and he said to me, what do you plan to do after your year is over? And I said I really didn't have plans at that point. And he's like, well, why don't you come and join our AmeriCorps project? So they had an AmeriCorps project at the time. It's called Our Experience is the Best Teacher, where people with disabilities from all over the state would go into schools and they would talk to teachers and students about, the life with disability, and we'd get to hang out with the kids and do fun things and things like that. So I did that for a few years. And then after that was over, they offered me a different position doing legislative work, where I did a lot of working on policies and different things that affect people with disabilities. And then from there, after a few years, I decided to leave self-advocacy and go work for the Independent Living Center. So at that time, I worked for two different uh, independent living centers. The first one, I helped people apply for benefits and understand their benefits. And then the second job I had, after that, I worked there for 2 years. And then for 3 years after that, I did wellness programs for the Independent Living Center. And because I was working under a grant, there wasn't a lot of room for me to like excel or, move up. So I decided that I really loved doing the wellness things. So that's when I decided to, uh, and I loved when we did, going into business and helping them be accessible. So I was like, oh, I can start a business doing this. So that's when I started my own consulting company. And so that's what I do. I offer workshops. Um, I do a lot of meditations, talking to people about self-care, things like that. So I really love doing both of those things. And it's helped me, the tools that I share with other people are just things that I've learned throughout my life as a person with a disability. And, and things happen and we just have to live our life to the best of our ability and, take day by day. And take it in stride and finding tools that help you, because everything isn't going to be the same for everybody, right? We always say if you met one person with spina bifida, you met one person with spina bifida. The the disability doesn't affect us all the same way. I remember when I was working at the independent living center, we had 6 different people that worked there that had spina bifida besides myself. And we were all of our lives were completely different. So each one of us is unique. We all have things to contribute. We all have things to share. And, just take life as it is and try to enjoy it while we're here. So thank you for this opportunity, and I'm glad to answer any questions that you might have.
You muted, Michael.
Thank you, Shamika. I really appreciate it.
Mhm.
Um,
Shamika, I got to tell you something. You said you didn't want to be a public speaker and you didn't want to do any of that. I got to tell you, didn't show. You crushed that. So go
Like I
ahead,
said,
Mike.
somebody else up there, rather whatever you believe, somebody in the universe said, oh yeah, you think so? So I guess that's what I'm meant to do.
Yep. Go ahead, Mike.
as- my first question for you would be when you were told, like, what the outcome would possibly be, or what your life would look like possibly. What was your mindset, and where did you go as far as just where your mindset and your thought process and all that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there was a period in time where I was, because of the inaccessibility and the isolation that I experienced growing up, where I did spend a lot of time, feeling very depressed and very, focused on all of the things that other people said that I would never do. But like I said, that's when I discovered books and really got into reading and really working on my mindset and focusing on possibility and focusing on the things that I can do and what was possible. And, and the thing about doctors, they're just guessing based
Yeah,
on, the information that they have, right? So
yeah,
nobody can tell me. There's only one person that's in charge of how long my life is going to last. And he doesn't work in a hospital. Uh, so, they're just doing the best they can with the information that they have,
yeah,
just like any of us. So, yes, there was a period in time where I was very focused and very depressed, and sometimes I still do have those thoughts and focus. But now, as I got older, like I said, I find the tools that have helped me to get through those periods, whether it's dance, whether it's music, whether it's books, so that's, I think, for all of us, what we need to do is find the tools, that work for us to get through those periods and times, because we're all going to have them. That's
yeah,
just part of life, whether you have a disability or not.
yeah. Thank you, thank you. Dave, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Shamika, just keep crushing it. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep radiating that gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous smile that you're doing. You know, I have always had a learning disability throughout my life, and I've learned how to conquer that. And as of late, in the last 4.5 years, I've had physical challenges, and I'm learning how to navigate that. And going through the disability aspect side of things, I have a great support team here in Colorado, but I wish they were more like you, that has a addictive laugh and has a gorgeous smile. So keep doing what you're doing, keep rocking it, keep crushing it, and I'm going to tell Michael multiple times when we come back with the stories of diversity. But I think there's something new coming, which we're not going to announce it today, Michael. We got to keep the hook hanging, okay? But
I, I,
nope, nope,
I
nope,
want to,
nope,
but I won't.
nope. We're gonna have to keep it hanging. We got to keep the excitement up, okay?
Yes, sir.
You're the boss, but this is the one thing I will say: we got to keep the excitement up.
You reel me in, which is a good thing.
Yeah. But Shamika, you will be coming back, and I'll twist Michael's beard to make sure that happens. So thank you for joining us. Fearless leader, back to you.
Okay. Thank you, man. Thank you, Shamika. I really appreciate it. Um, Melody, you're up. You're on
You're
mute.
you're
You're
muted,
muted.
Melody.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, sorry
we can
about
hear
that.
you. That's
Sorry
okay.
about that. But anyway, I know. I mean, I'm sorry you can hear me, but that's okay. I, like Shamika, hate public speaking, but somehow I like to do it because I don't like to do it. It's just pulling me out of my comfort zone, and I like that. Can you hear me all right?
Yes,
Okay, good.
very good.
Okay, good. So, my name is Melody Cole, and I see that we're all kind of around the same age here. I will be 48 in September. So when I was born, I was born out in the middle of western Kansas. And it was before the time, at least in that part of the country, where they didn't have a lot of testing. You couldn't, see what was gonna. You didn't know a lot about the baby before the baby was born. But when I was born, as soon as I like to say, as soon as I popped out, I had have spina bifida. I have myelomeningocele, which I think you've mentioned you had uh, mentioned before. You have, Michael, where the spine was exposed when you were born.
Yes, I did. Yes, that's the kind of.
Yes. So that's what I had. That's what I have also. So when I was born, my spine was exposed, and the hospital I was born at knew about spina bifida, but couldn't didn't treat it. Couldn't do the the surgery I needed to do the spinal closure and the spinal fusion, my first surgery. So after I was born, I uh, uh, was sent to Wichita, I believe, to have the spinal surgery, my first spinal surgery. And my mom had to go to Great Bend for another surgery because also when I was born, the sac that usually comes out with the baby didn't come out. So she had to go one way, I had to go the other way. My dad came with me, and I had that surgery when I was a day old, I think. So I stayed in Wichita in St. Francis. It became my second home because I had most of my surgeries there growing up. And eventually we moved closer to Wichita because I was there so much. So that kind of contributed to that decision. But at the time, at least from what I heard, they didn't. Nobody knew a whole lot about spina bifida and what caused it, things like that. And it just, so I didn't know a whole lot about it, but as through the years, learning what I learned from hospital stays and medical issues and things, I always knew all of that because mom was always real honest with me about everything and terms and everything. And my dad knew those things too. My mom was a little better with medical terms than my dad, but he was surprising sometimes if I asked him something, he knew medical terms. But mom was one to talk more about it. And in my family, I have um, I have a cousin who's 2 years older than I am. When I later found out we were probably at middle school or something, I found out he was also born with spina bifida. He had spina bifida oculta, which is a very mild form of it. And actually, it was funny because right before we started this, there was something on Facebook, there was a post about spina bifida and dead types and things that, can cause it, which I don't know if I agree with all of that was on the Facebook post, but it had definitions and stuff. But spina bifida culpa, I found out when my cousin had it, is not, there's not a whole lot of symptoms. He had a shunt that he used for a while, but he was able to have that taken out later, and I still have my shunt, and still use it, and found out when I was in my 20s that I still needed to use it. So I still have my shunt. But in terms of other people with spina bifida, there's maybe one or two other people in my family that may have had it, that didn't have the symptoms or were quote unquote asymptomatic. So my disability and my knowledge of it's kind of just, was kind of for a long time just what I grew up with. And so we ended up, since I had to go to Wichita so much, we ended up living in Winfield. I couldn't go to the preschool because the preschool at the time where it was had a lot of steps. It used to be our old library that had, I don't know how many dozens of steps up to it. Wasn't very accessible, but that's where the preschool was. And so I didn't go to preschool. But in grade school, I we had a wonderful school system, and we had a really good principal that worked with us, and we had a good parking spot for my van and everything. And so that was really, really helpful in grade school. I didn't have a lot of other friends with physical disabilities at the time in school, just because there really weren't any. I think I had physical therapy for a few years, in a room. There was a room in the grade school with like developmentally delayed students, and the ones that used to be housed or residing in state hospitals, and that kind of, they used to be institutionalized, I guess I should say. And so that was really my first introduction to disability, besides mine, until we had met a family when I was, I think, about 4 years. No, I would have been 3 years old, and we met a family in the hospital with a little girl that was a year older than I was. There was from Winfield. She went to a different school. She had spina bifida and used a wheelchair also. Not as much as I did then, but she and I met in the hospital. And then later, when I went to school, and she went to a different school, but they would have her come for, I think they call it field day. That once a year they have field days in school where kids get to be outside and play games and run races and all that kind of thing. And so she would always come over from her school to compete with me in field day. And it was kind of neat because she used a wheelchair too, and we excuse me, we became really good friends throughout grade school. And although we didn't go, we could go to school together. We could see each other once a year. And then finally, sixth grade, I was in sixth grade. She was having to repeat sixth grade. So she moved over to my grade school. And we became best friends for many years. And that was nice because there was, like I said, I really hadn't had anybody that had spina bifida that uh, had a lot of the same medical things I was going through, and I probably exhausted her with wanting to talk about her medical things. But she and I had a lot of similar issues with medical, and so it was nice to be able to have somebody that knew what was going on, um, knew what I was going through. And in terms of advocacy, I had the opportunity probably 1991, I think it was. The ADA had just come out in 1990, and we and the town I was in, Winfield, got sued for an excess. Excuse me. Stop thinking. Winfield had gotten sued for an accessibility issue, so they had to form a group that would study around Winfield, the schools and everything, study the accessibility issues. So I was privileged to be asked to be on that as a middle school student. And so we went around to all of the schools and had worked with architects that looked at architecture of churches and the main community buildings and public buildings at the time. So that was really interesting. That even led to, well, we had to do some changes with the schools to make them more accessible. And when I got to middle school in seventh grade, they had an elevator in our middle school. And I found out one day that somebody did not hook the phone up in the elevator. So when I got stuck in the elevator, luckily there was somebody on the outside that would go up steps, make sure I got out and everything else, because it was this really tiny elevator that just basically fit my chair. But after I got stuck in there and couldn't go to class that day because of being in there for about 20 minutes, they got the phone working. And in the elevator, they had asked me before I went to middle school, or maybe it was high school, they put in automatic doors that were new. And so they asked me where to put those. And so little things like that. And I did some advocacy work later and getting to do presentations about disability to the city office. For the city office in Winfield, we had 3 days of presentations that we did. So that was interesting. And I'm still learning about, I think, certain things about spina bifida. When I was younger, I knew about it. I knew I had it, but I learned necessarily, I, I guess I would say, blame um, my conditions or my medical problems for it, because in my mind, it's not curable. Why? But it's treatable, and if it's not curable, then you know why blame issues on something they can't be fixed, because a lot of things about you know uh, my medical issues, a lot of things I go through, they can be treated, they can be fit and not cured maybe, but treated, maintained, a good physical health, and what I forgot can be maintained, and it's not just something that I have to live with necessarily. Not everything medically is something I have to live with. So um I just, it's, you deal with what you deal with, and you go on with it. And I understand having to deal with it. And I think as an adult, that became something different than when I was a kid, because my support system changed changes as I grow older, and I still have it. I still have a very good support system, but as you go through life, that can look different as you grow older. I guess that's all I. Oh, and I am an author and an editor from work from home, and I like making connections with people and working with different organizations to help people connect each other. They connect to each other.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Melody. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
My only question is, what has your support system done for you?
Oh, a lot. And um, I have caregivers that are really supportive, and that, I've had different ones throughout uh, my life, because like when I moved out of the house, I was lucky enough to be able to go to college right after I graduated high school, and continued in college to stay a little bit and get my master's. A good support system is just everything, not just the physical needs, but social aspect important is very important to me too, as well as the emotional and spiritual connections.
Mm-hmm. Dave, do you have any questions?
No question. Just keep trucking along, Melody. You're doing fantastic, and I've heard your story before, and it's powerful. And thank you for joining us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Melody.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is an author, public speaker, and an advocate. Please welcome Catherine McNally.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Michael.
You're welcome.
I'm blown away by everybody's story, so I'm just honored to be here.
Thank you.
I guess I'm sorry. Do you want to ask a question first, or do
No,
I start?
I just said thank you. I'm gonna wait until the end to ask questions.
Oh, okay. So my story starts out as kind of an adventure, which is funny because I will later share that I write about a superhero in a wheelchair that goes on her own adventures. But mine started out as an adventure because I'm the youngest of seven. I am the only person with a disability in my entire family. And my birth with a disability was a complete shock to my family. They had no idea. My mother was 32 years old at the time when she had me. And she was right at the cusp of when they could do the amniocentesis, I think it's called, where they do the test for spina bifida. She was too young. I think it starts at 33 that they do the test. So she had no idea that I was going to be born with this disability. And the way that it was described to me was just a scene of chaos. There were doctors and nurses running back and forth, not knowing what to do. And I was born in a small hospital in White Plains, New York. And from there, I went on a helicopter, maybe like an hour born into the world. I went into a helicopter. They flew me to Manhattan to do an immediate surgery to close the gap in my spine. I too was born with Milo Megacelli. I never know how to say it. I feel awful that I can't say it, but I think that's how you say
It's
it.
my it's Milo Meningitis.
Thank you, Milo Meningocell. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I was born with that, and I was flown to Manhattan to do the immediate surgery to close my spine up and to put a shunt in my brain. I have a BP shunt. And then for the next 36 days, I spent my life in an incubator. And that is how my journey into this world began. And there's a funny story that in one of the days that I was being hospitalized, my entire family came and circled around my incubator, and the look on my face, the expression that I made was one of like, oh my goodness, who are all these people? And I think 40 I think 42 years later I still have that expression on my face sometimes, because being a part of a family with so many people, it's funny that at least for me, my experience has been straight down the middle of the enablers and the do-it-yourselfers. So that's how I grew up, like having half my family pretty much treat me with kid gloves and want to do everything for me, especially my mom, and the other half of my family being like, excuse me, you're an adult now, get it together, do it yourself. I don't care. And so, so I kind of grew up with this attitude of like, I got to prove to people that I'm more than my disability, like, so, and that was even more heightened in the fact that in my entire schooling from first grade all the way to senior year in high school, I was the only person with a physical disability. So I dealt with a lot of bullying and a lot of ostracizing because I grew up in a really small town. I didn't grow up in White Plains, which is more of like a city. I grew up in a place called Yorktown Heights, where there was literally no diversity whatsoever. And so I went through a lot of moments where, just like everyone else on this Zoom, where I didn't really understand my own identity, and I was kind of struggling a little bit in my teen years and in my early 20s with some internalized ableism based on the messages that I was getting from my peers of, oh, you're different, you're weird, I don't want to talk to you. And so instead of being like, no, that's not true, I'm going to prove them wrong, that thought that I had as a child of like, I need to prove I'm more than my disability kind of faded away a little bit in my teen years, because I started to feel like, okay, maybe I really am different than everybody else. And this is not good. This is a bad thing. So I started to make a really long story short, I went through a period of time in my late teen years to early 20s where I was a little rebellious due to the feeling of being different and standing out in every crowd that I was in. So I did things that I would drink a little here, I would eat poorly, I would do things that I'm not proud of as an adult. And then but luckily, that bad behavior actually gave me an opportunity for a second chance at life because at the age of 22, my kidneys failed and I was put on a dialysis machine where I went to a clinic 3 times a week to get my treatments. And while I was there, I think it was like the first year or two that I was there, I met a man who was also a patient there. He was in his 80s. And he and I grew to have like a really nice friendship. He was a very nice man. He was a Holocaust survivor. And he and I really connected in a lot of different ways. And he actually inspired me to become an advocate because one day I told him, I was like, you've had such a profound effect on me in helping me deal with my own, anger towards my illness and towards my disability and everything. I want to give that same energy back into the world. How can I do that? What is the first thing that I can do? And he was like, I have the perfect opportunity for you. So he set me up with a school that is for kids within the autism spectrum and and I was nervous because like I said, I had not had a lot of interaction with people with disabilities until, since I was very, very little when I had attended a school for kids with disabilities before I was put into the public school district at the age of 8 and was put into first grade. I went into a school called St. Agnes Children's Rehabilitation Center, and I graduated from there at age 8. So from 8 to 22, the only person with a disability that I knew was myself. So to get this opportunity to work with kids that had disabilities was a little nerve wracking for me. But when I wheeled into the classroom, the kids were amazing. And within seconds, I was like, okay, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is it. And so from there, being around them had such a profound effect on me because even though my friend at dialysis had helped me a lot with dealing with my illness of kidney failure, these kids actually helped me probably more than I helped them. I was there to teach them their ABCs and one, two, threes, but they helped me gain my confidence back and my acceptance of my own disability at the age of 25. And that is when I started to view the world so differently as like, I'm not an outsider. I'm an educator. I'm someone that was put on this earth to teach people about disability and teach people about accepting all of us with disabilities. So from there, I was after my first year at that school where I was teaching those kids, I remember a moment where I was sitting in a pool and these two kids were looking at me and trying to figure out how I got into the pool from my wheelchair. And at that moment, I had one of those like light bulbs go off, like in like old cartoons when the light bulb would go off in the head. It was one of those moments where I was like, okay, I have to educate children about disability. So I immediately got up, went into my chair, sped into my apartment, and started writing The Adventures of Catgirl. And within like a year and a half, the first story was published. And from there, it's just been like a snowball. I've written 7 stories, 4 of which are The Adventures of Catgirl. One is another character for children called Pete the Private Eye. He is a blind detective and he solves mysteries using his cane. And Catgirl uses her wheelchair to fly around and help people who are being bullied. So those are the two characters that I have for children. Then um, I also have, with the encouragement of my sister Mariana, who I hope is still on this Zoom call right now, she's told me that I should go out there and tell my story as well. So I've partnered with my friend Hector Del Valle on two separate collaborative books. One is called Unbreakable, which was published last year, and the other one is that just got published like a few days ago, actually, is called Families Living with Life, Love, and Disability. And it's all about the family dynamic and how it can be greatly affected by disability. And so I really love being an author, and that's pretty much the number one thing that I want to share with all of you. But I've also done other things as as well, such as public speaking. And shout out to Shamika. I was a Miss Wheelchair Florida winner in 2017. So you are my pageant sister from another state. So I love that. And with Miss Wheelchair, I was able to do a lot of system change, which I hadn't done before because I spent a lot of time writing my books. I didn't really go out there and do anything with the government or outside of my books. But with Miss Wheelchair, I was able to do that. And some of the things that I did was um I was able to get 6 beaches accessible here in South Florida, one of which is in Sunny Isles Beach. 2 are in Bal Harbor, and I believe 3 are in Surfside, or it might be the other way around. It might be 3 are in Bal Harbor and 2 are in Surfside. I don't really remember because it was a while ago, but I did that. And I also was able to work with the Miami-Dade School District on activities that they used during their Disability Awareness Month and Inclusion Week in the year 2018. Lastly, I was a co-host for a online radio show that aired between 2017 and 2019. And the reason behind the cancellation of it actually brings me to another part of my advocacy. So the cancellation of it happened in 2019 when the former producer had suffered a stroke and was no longer able to produce the show. And the person that took over was someone who I had had a bad experience with in the past of harassment, and who really gave me a very bad feeling, which brings me to another form of advocacy that I'm very proud and very passionate that I've been a part of, which I was a part of the Miami Inclusion Alliance, which helped organizations and federal offices and local judges and so forth understand the intersectionality of disability and abuse. We are 3 times as likely to be victims of any kind of abuse, whether it's verbal, physical, sexual, so on and so on, financial even. So that was a very important 2-year period for me personally, where I was asked by my friend Debbie Dietz to be a part of that coalition. So I did that between the years of 2020, I think it was 2021 to 2023, I believe it was. And we were able to reach out to so many different organizations and do such powerful work and in educating. We even spoke with the Christopher Reeve Foundation, and had a webinar for them as well, which also brings me to another part of my public speaking, which I'm super proud of and comes from a really interesting story. So here in Miami, we have a very tight-knit group of people with disabilities that are constantly going to the same events. And there's this one particular person, his name is Alan T. Brown, and he and I have known each other for a long time. And I never really knew, you know how you know someone but you don't really know them? Like he didn't really talk to me too much. So I always felt like maybe he didn't like me or something. And long story short, it turns out that he was kind of watching my growth as an advocate from, the girl that was trying to make it as a children's book author to now this public speaker that was talking about the intersectionality of disability and abuse and doing all these disability etiquette trainings at universities. He saw this growth in me and he decided to quietly passed along my information to the Christopher Reeve Foundation. And in the year 2024, I was asked to be the MC for the Christopher and Dana Reeve Summit in Washington, D.C. So that was probably one of the most like notorious and pinnacle moments of my advocacy that I will be eternally grateful to Alan for doing for me. Um, but yeah, so that's a little bit about me. Do you guys have any questions?
I kind of want to break out into song right now and just go, "We are family." Da-na-na-na-na. You got all the family in me, fearless leader.
One question I have is, how are your kidneys?
I'm still on dialysis till this day. It's going on 19, it actually just past 19 years. My date is May 7th, 2007. I celebrate it as my Thank God I'm Alive Day because as I mentioned, it gave me my second chance at life to get out of victim mode and be the powerhouse that I try to be every day. So I definitely use it as a positive. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm not eligible for a kidney transplant because they say that I have too many medical gadgets already. I mean, I have a shunt and I've got a urostomy and I've got, some other stuff going on. And so they're like, yeah, you're a medical risk to do a kidney transplant. Not to mention, like, we would probably have to do a heart transplant in addition to it. So it's complicated. So looks like dialysis is for life, but it's all good because I make the best of it.
I have a shunt, but they told me that it was non-operational in like 1986. So it's been a while, and they left it in because they didn't want to do unnecessary surgery.
Hmm.
And one comment I wanted to make was, I love how you are writing for kids and trying to educate them because what this whole thing is, well, a lot of what this is educating the younger generation so that they can know what's going on and how to address us and interact with us, and that in itself will make the world better, I think.
Yeah, and what I love so much about my events is I have like this routine that I do. So I wheel into a classroom, I wait to hear all the whispering because apparently, inevitably I'm going to hear, "Oh my God, she's in a wheelchair." And
Yeah.
I'll ask the kids like, "How do you feel about that?" And kids are so honest. They'll be like,
Yeah.
"I feel sad, I feel worried, I feel sorry for you." And I show no judgment. I just pick up my book, I read it, and then I ask them the same question. And they're like, "Oh my God, you're so cool. Does your
Yeah.
chair fly too? Are you a superhero?" And I'm like, "Not a superhero yet, but if you read all my books and you get really smart, you might be able to build me a flying wheelchair." And they're like, "Oh my God, yeah." So they get all excited. So it's a beautiful thing and I love it.
I with my with whenever I do any advocacy, I try to lead with education, because judgment is what really I'm trying to get rid of. So
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dave,
Does
Dave,
your
do you have a
partner
question?
have a question?
There is a quote from a wise movie. There is no try. There is only do. So you don't
Oh,
try to be a powerhouse. You already are a powerhouse.
thank you.
You're welcome. And everybody here is very lucky that I did not use that wise quote in my Yoda voice impression that was very popular on the school bus.
You have to do it now.
There is no try. There is only do, my young Padawan.
I love it.
I have no questions, Catherine. Just remember, there is no try, there is only do, and you are a powerhouse.
Thank you.
You are
Thank
welcome.
you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are going to share and announce our final speaker of Stories of Diversity. We have heard so many incredible, talented, heart centered speakers this afternoon. But this would not be possible without our fearless leader, the man with the most epic beard, the man with the biggest heart that I have ever seen, the man that, when he called me and told me on a cruise that he had a stroke, I was trying to figure out a way to put together a hang glider to fly from the middle of the Caribbean over to, I don't remember where you lived before you moved to San Diego, but
I
I
was
was
in
going to,
Vegas.
you were in Vegas, okay. So I was going to figure out a way to fly from the Caribbean over to Vegas to be there, even though I had no idea where he lived, but I would have figured it out. I digress. But ladies and gentlemen, I am serious as a heart attack here. This man has had hundreds of men and women in tears at Movement Maker Live in Nashville, Tennessee. No matter what, I always say to myself, I'm not going to cry. And then I look over at my two good friends and I'm bawling like a big baby because all Michael knows how to do is to speak from the heart. I joke around all the time. I have a lot of energy because that's how I've always been. But when I talk about authenticity, I talk about realness, I talk about true raw power with a man that never gives up, that never quits, and he will run an event from a hospital. I'm serious. This man has done it 3 times now.
Yeah.
That is Michael Martin Hummel. So, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls of all ages, tune in, get ready to have your socks knocked off because the fearless leader of Stories of Diversity is Mr. Michael Martin Hummel. Brother, roll on up here. The stage is yours.
You oversold me.
That's what I do.
I was born with spina bifida in 1978, and my mother was told that I would never walk, talk, feed or dress myself, and I should probably be institutionalized. And she told me that when I was 15, and it pissed me off because it hurt her, and it changed like our lives completely, and it changed the outlook of like how we went about everything. And as I was growing up for years, I had a oh woe is me, angry at the world kind of outlook at life. And my least favorite words are inspiration and normal. And I had a I was at a doctor's appointment one time, and the doctor said to me when he found out that I could drive, he said, "Oh, you can drive like normal people." And this was the doctor, and I don't care if you know everything about a disability. That's fine. Not you're not supposed to. That's what specialists are for. But know how to treat people who are different from yourself. That is in the professional world. If you're a doctor or whatever, you should know how to treat people who are different from yourself. And the word inspiration, I like it if it's done correctly. If you know me and you know what I've done, and then you say you inspire me, that's fine. But if I am getting out of my car and going to a park, and you've never seen me before, never met me before, and you say you inspire me, that bothers me because it's like I'm being inspirational for breathing, and I don't get that. And I've recently been told that and I agree with this, most of my disability is, well, most of what I dislike about my disability is what I have to deal with as a result of it. Like the things I have to do, the things I have to go through. The disability itself isn't that bad. You just, well, for me anyway, I have to, I sit in a wheelchair and I can walk with crutches, but for the most part, I just sit in a chair. And I sit a lot. Big deal. It's not that big a deal. The hardest part is like the things you have to go through, the things you have to deal with, and the outside influences. What I mean by that is when people don't think you can do things, or they assume that you are not smart or unable or you can't do things, or that is what puts you in a mental health spiral and a depression spiral. And as I've gotten older, I've learned to lead with education. It doesn't always work because you know, people push you off. People are wrong. People say things that are inappropriate. But if you constantly just tell them what things are like and what you have to go through, what you can do, what you can't do. And one thing I always tell people is I can do anything anybody else can do. I just do it differently. And one of the major things is learning to be adaptable. That's what disability is. You have to learn to be adaptable and do things the way you can do them and explain to people that this is how it needs to be done so that they can know what you're doing And like one thing I don't like is I'm set in my ways and I do things the same every time. And when people in general think I need help, they go to me. They might like pick up my arms, pick up my body, and they inevitably make it harder because I'm set in my ways. I do things regimented and the same, and I think learning and all knowing how to adapt and make your world what it should be and not what others think it needs to be is important. And I know I'm gonna be short, but I'll end with one thing. One song I like, oh I love that always makes you smile and makes me feel better is "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life" by Monty Python. If whenever I hear that song, it completely changes my mood and makes me feel better and shows me what side of life I need to look at. And that's it.
You're lucky I don't know that song because I would have broken out in song again. And this is, I think, the first time I haven't done that. Michael,
Yes, sir.
I don't have any questions for you because I know you very, very well.
Yes.
And, I know we're going to be taking a break so you can focus on you and focus on your wife and get you back to full strength because the mountain is waiting for you over here in Colorado with NBM and everything. But I know everyone here is thankful that you created stories of diversity. So before we sign off today, I'm going to open it up to the Zoom room, and I'd like to ask everyone to take themselves off of mute, turn your cameras on, and let's pour back into Michael because he's been doing this now for over a year, way before I came in and started helping him out. And
Only a month.
only a month, okay. And you carried it yourself, but I want everybody to send Michael some flowers, pour into him because this takes a lot of work to put something like this together. So, who would like to pour into Michael first?
Well, once again, I'd just like to thank for the time and the opportunity. Thank you, Michael, and hopefully we'll do this again sometime soon. And
Yeah.
I had a bowel obstruction in 2016 that required multiple surgeries. I was actually in a coma for a little bit. So yeah, I've been through it too. The important thing is you take care of yourself. We'll be here when you get back.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Will. Melody, why don't you go next?
Oh, really? Oh, thank you, David. That's fine. Um, yes. Thank you, Michael. Like, excuse me. Like I mentioned earlier, all of us know what that's like to have to take care of yourself
Hmm.
and do and still, make sure businesses and projects and whatever we do, whatever we'd like to do, that needs to keep going too. And I think sometimes, we forget that we need to take care of ourselves
Hmm.
first
Yeah.
in order to be able to do those things.
Hmm.
So thank you for doing this. Hope you have a good rest and get whatever medical issues over the next few months, get them better.
Okay.
be able to come back at your full capacity. And you're there. You did well. You did so well today, and I thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine, you're up next.
I just want to say thank you again so much for having me today. This was amazing. But honestly, sweetie, I had no idea you were in the hospital till like about 10 minutes before we came on
Yeah.
this call. And my first thing was, wait a second, why don't you cancel? Because my thought
I don't do
is,
that.
I know, sweetie, we're both fighters. I get it. I've I once did an event with with kidney stones, and every time the kids would leave, I would scream in pain, and then another group would come, and I'd be like, "Hi, everyone." So I get it. I get you
Yeah.
wanting to be out there and do these things, but the impact that you're making, not just in the disability community, but in the world in general with these talks and having us come out and share our stories and educate people is so profound. And it can't happen if you're not okay.
Yeah.
So that is my only advice to you is to just take this time off to really focus on getting better, being even stronger than you already are. I mean, you seem like a very strong person inside and out. But just take this time for you and be loving to yourself and don't allow this time off to make you feel like you're not doing things because sometimes us go-getters and us fighters, we get in that mindset of like, oh no, I'm resting. That means I'm being weak. No, you got to realize that that rest time is what's making you strong.
Yeah.
It's showing your strength in a way that you don't really allow because you're always doing something. You're always out there helping the community. And so I just want you to take this time for you to really rejuvenate yourself and come back even stronger, and just know that we're all going to be here for you through the time that you're away. If you need anything, if you need to have someone be your cheerleader, just reach out to me. I'm pretty good at cheering people up. So so just, reach out. Well, I it's a community, so it goes both ways.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Catherine. Beautiful, Shamika. Would you like to pour into our Michael?
Absolutely. I agree with everything that Catherine says. We always talk thinking about, how we take care of everyone else, right? But if we're not taking care of ourselves, we're no good to anybody else.
Yeah.
So definitely take time to rest, take time to take care of you, do all of the things that you need to do for you to be all that you can be and come
Okay.
out here and continue to rock it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shamika. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Melody. And most importantly, thank you, Michael. I am the baby of the group here. I am 43, but I feel like I am among giants. I am
Hey,
truly
baby, I'm
grateful.
42.
Oh, man, I got beat. I got you beat by a year. I like not being the baby of the group, so I'll take that. But I feel like I'm among giants here, y'all. It is always this is something I look forward to every single month, and sometimes I never know what we're going to talk about until about 2 or 3 days before because I forget because I'm working on my own projects over here, and Michael's very good about reminding me. Now, we're going to be taking a few months off, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to see Michael a part of the NBM group, and we're not going to be pressuring you, Mike, because you need to focus on your healing. Okay, and I don't pressure you to do anything that you don't want to do. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been an incredible stories of diversity. I want to encourage those who have been with us on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. I know Michael has a YouTube channel as well. It's under Wheels and Warriors. there will be multiple videos being sent over to Michael, and I'll help out uploading those as you recover and doing what you'll be doing. Check out the previous stories of diversity. You'll see some familiar faces, but you'll also see some different faces. Stay tuned in. See what Michael has created. It's important to get loud, as a very dear friend of mine says, May Scott, in her story. Get loud, share your story, but most importantly, protect your peace. As another good friend that Michael and I know, Mr. Trent Shelton, shares that piece. Protect your peace. Take time for you, as what you just witnessed. And as soon as I get the date from Michael, when we're coming back with some exciting news, I will be sharing that, because I'll be taking over some of the responsibilities for Michael to take some weight off of his shoulders along with my business partner. We're going to be taking this to new heights, to new seasons, so that everyone is seen. Because what is coming after Michael is done with recovery is going to be something that you will want to be a part of. So thank you all from Facebook land. Thank you all from YouTube land for tuning in today. Everybody here on Zoom, stick with me for really quick after we sign off. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And as we celebrate 250 years next weekend in the history of the United States, have a wonderful, wonderful 4th of July. Be safe, enjoy a lot of food, and be careful around the fireworks. Fireworks can be hazardous for your health, but have a wonderful 4th of July. And since football season's right around the corner, go Broncos!